Hello, folks. Hello, folks. Would you please take your seats and so we can get started? Yeah. So, good afternoon. My name is Peter Schmidt. I'm a lawyer with Robbins Kaplan, and I'm the chair of the campaign for legal aid. I want to welcome and thank each and every one of you. This is a highlight of the year. We get together and share our appreciation for all of the hard work SMRLS does. This luncheon is part of a long-standing tradition for SMRLS to celebrate the outstanding work performed. And now Jesse will say a few words.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. I want to make sure that you're awake. In any case, I'm Jesse Nicholson, SMRLS' CEO, and I wanted to make sure that I greet everybody today and thank you so much for all of your support of SMRLS for all these years. Today's theme is what we call civil legal aid. It takes a village. We could not possibly do what we do at SMRLS for the last 114 years were it not for the support of folks like yourselves. And so please know of my appreciation and respect for all of your support for us. And in case you're wondering, I have not been around for the whole 114 years, just part of it. So anyway, thank you for being with us. And then now I'd like to invite Brett Olander to the podium. Brett is the president of SMRLS' board of directors and also a law school classmate of mine from a few years ago.
That class of 2000 was quite a group, wasn't it? Okay, so we're going to, we have some honorees, correct? Mm-hmm. And I cleared this with the powers that be. I always like to have a little Bobby Kennedy quote before we kick things off here. And it was 62 years ago today in Chicago, Illinois, where Bobby Kennedy said, "Every time we turn our heads the other way, when we see the law flouted, when we tolerate what we know to be wrong, when we close our eyes and ears to the corrupt because we're too busy or too frightened, when we fail to speak up and speak out, we strike a blow against freedom and decency and justice." So this is what SMRLS lawyers do every day. They speak for those without a voice. And this is what we do. We try to support them with everything that we can bring to muster. Okay, so the Justice Matters Alliance recognizes the outstanding contributions of civil legal aid allies for all they do to further the work of SMRLS in serving the people of Southern Minnesota. This year we have the honor of inducting 6 individuals whose dedicated support of civil legal aid has been invaluable to us at SMRLS. First, we have Senator Ron Latz. There he is, perfect. We have to say nice things about you before you come up, Senator, but we want to make sure you're here. All right. Senator Ron Latz is the chair of the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee, and in that capacity, he was instrumental in the passing of the Judiciary and Public Safety Budget Bill, giving SMRLS a historic funding increase, which is and was and will be in the future critical to hiring and retaining high-quality attorneys that we have. Senator Latz, why don't you come up now? Representative Jamie Becker-Finn, there she is. Representative Becker-Finn is the chair of Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law Committee and worked closely with Senator Latz and sponsored the Judiciary and Public Safety Budget Bill, which granted over $30 million in funding for civil legal aid organizations in the state. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my friend Keith Ellison for coming with us today and sitting front and center at the Keller, Woods, and Thompson table 11. And I promised him when I finally get Williams Arena to play basketball in, he'll be on the invite list. So anyway, out of Detroit, my friends tell me that you were actually a player, not huge, but high quality point guard. So anyway, Jesse?
The third award goes to the Fredrikson Byron law firm. They helped us at the legislature tremendously in terms of legislative lobbying that succeeded in us receiving this $30,742,000 for the state civil legal aid system. And so I'd like to invite to the podium Kevin Goodnow, Andy Pomeroy, and Jeff Hayden, who worked tirelessly for us. And then one more award goes to Scott Borchert. Scott Borchert is an attorney, a volunteer attorney for SMRLS, and has been doing so for a number of years. He has been retired, but yet he consistently goes back and forth to make sure he keeps his attorney license renewed so he can perform the services that we need on a pro bono basis. And so, Scott, we'd like to acknowledge your contributions and have you come forward now. So thank you again for acknowledging the services of such competent and supportive persons for SMRLS. One more round of applause, please.
I'll come back up in about 15 minutes and introduce our keynote so we can enjoy our lunch now.
We do have one more presentation also from the Ramsey County Bar Foundation. So would representatives of Ramsey County Bar Foundation step forward?
Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul Peterson, and it's my honor today to speak to you as the president of the Ramsey County Bar Foundation. Throughout the year, Ramsey County, the Ramsey County Bar Association and the foundation put on a number of events to raise money, and the foundation, half of everything we raise goes directly to SMRLS, and the other half is used for other worthy groups and organizations that are delivering legal services to the indigent and the underserved on a regular basis, and SMRLS is front and center in that mission. We've been wonderful partners for many, many years, and one of the first Saturday of every November, which is tough because we bump up against a deer opener, I know, but many of the people in this room joined us, and we want you all back next year. But we had the annual Bench and Bar benefit. It was a rousing success. And the co-chairs of that event are with us, Karen Boyson and Renee Fossen. And it is our distinct honor from the Ramsey County Bar Foundation to get a very large, oversized check and hand it off to SMRLS. And so the check is dated November 21, 2023, from the Ramsey County Bar Foundation to Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services in the amount of $21,672.28. Thank you all for your efforts in raising that money.
Enjoy your lunch, everyone.
Raising up your herb to escape the maze. Blazing up your herb to escape the maze. Blazing
Hello, everybody. I have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, Rehan Staton. He is a speaker, founder, martial artist, trailblazer, whose central ambition is to uplift and give back to his ever-growing community. While at Harvard Law School, Rehan garnered national media attention when he founded the Reciprocity Effect, a nonprofit dedicated to amplifying the visibility and quality of life of support staff in educational institutions and corporations. As a young man, overcoming poverty, disability, and chronic health issues, his triumphs have been recognized by the Boston Celtics with their Heroes Among Us award, as well as earning honors at his alma mater of Harvard and the University of Maryland. He has worked as a sanitation worker with the NBA's Player Association, World Boxing Council, and is currently employed at a preeminent law firm of Paul, Weiss, Wharton, and Garrison LLP. Rehan?
Good afternoon, everyone. You know, I still can't believe I'm up here in front of you guys. I was just telling my friend, I'm actually coming up on like my 10-year anniversary, anniversary when I first started as a sanitation worker back in 2014. And I just remember back then, when I first got to the sanitation company, if someone would have told me I was going to eventually, go on and be a college graduate, let alone a Harvard Law School graduate, co-founder of anything, that just would have been, I don't know, too hard to believe. And when I was really kind of just looking back on everything, it's just one of those types of things. I remember there was like one article who like referenced me as being self-made. And I just thought that was like the biggest lie and ridiculous thing I've like ever heard in my entire life. I remember back in 7th grade, I think is when maybe my view of myself in education just seemed to be pretty minuscule. I remember, I woke up one morning and I took a history test. And I can't remember what exactly the grade was, just know it was below a 25%, so it was pretty bad. But after that, my teacher called a parents-teacher conference with all of my other teachers, that I had, math, science, whatever other class middle schoolers take. And I remember he compared my brain to a jammed cabinet. He said, we teach Rehan, the information, he's in class, but once we give him the information, he just can't seem to open it back up. And then, he kind of insinuated that, I had a very strong learning disability and that I just wasn't able to be in class with everyone else. But little did the guy know, like the night before the test, it was a very cold winter night, and my house didn't have an HVAC system, so it was very cold. We also had black mold festering throughout the house, and the standards of the house was extremely below living conditions. And I had to sleep with a very, very, very heavy coat. And on this specific night, it wasn't enough to help me get any sleep. And that was pretty much, my life, not just for that day, but, for the last couple of years of my life. And so it was funny looking back on it. He was so quick to kind of judge my, I guess, some degree of what he thought my potential was in academia, that he never really ever asked the question, why, what's wrong, what help do you need? Just those types of questions that you would hope that anyone that cared would ask. And to make a long story short, I was on the cusp of actually failing out. And this is 7th grade. And I'll never forget, my father ended up coming home about 2 weeks later, and he said he found a tutor who'd be willing to give me some free tutoring. And just so you guys know, my dad was the most amazing guy in the world. I mean, he is the most amazing guy in the world. The type of dad, despite how bad things looked, the guy worked 3 jobs, but somehow still found a way to be at all my major life milestones. Even as a fighter, he trained me every day at 3 a.m. because that was the only time he could train me, which was pretty insane looking back on it. But he always found a way to make things happen. And I just remember coming home from school one day, he said, I found a tutor, be willing to work with you for free. And I just remember by the end of that semester, that same teacher wrote my dad an apology letter saying, oh, I'm so sorry about the things I said about your son, because I actually ended up after I got the tutoring, I actually ended up finishing #1 in the class for that semester. Unfortunately for me, though, thank you. Thank you. Unfortunately for me, though, the tutor that I had to end up eventually, moving on. He ended up leaving the state, and so things went back to the same old, and my grades plummeted again. Barely held on to a 2.0. Throughout most of my academic career, I was below a 2.0. However, I did have one thing going for me. I was a really good fighter. All up and down the East Coast, I was winning national championships in martial arts, some of the biggest competitions in the country, and even qualified for the USA team in 2011. And so, in my mind, although I wasn't academically inclined, even despite me doing well in 7th grade, for some reason, I still felt like I didn't belong in school. But the one place where I did get all of my support from was in athletics, specifically when it came to fighting. And it got to the point, even in high school, teachers didn't tell me to go to college, but they used to ask me for my autograph. And they were like, we can't wait to see you at your next fight. Oh, we can't, oh, we saw you last week. You did amazing, you're going to be everywhere. And so for me, outside of fighting, there really wasn't much of a world for me. No one really, spoke that into me. And my dad was the type of dad where he was just going to be supportive of anything that I wanted to gear myself towards. Everything else, he'd just make sure he'd help, support otherwise. But unfortunately, in 2014, I ended up transferring over to boxing. And I ended up getting a really great trainer. He used to be Sugar Ray Leonard's coach. And literally, things looked like they were on a very great upward trajectory because we were going to try to have me turn pro at the end of that year, which was the same year I was graduating high school. I ended up having a career-ending injury in both shoulders. And it was one of those things where I was like, what am I going to do? Seriously, I was like, what am I going to do? This is crazy. I've never pictured my life in any context outside of sports up until that point. And I would really sit in the mirror, what am I going to do? So I ended up having to take the SAT. I remember I got a 1040 out of 2400, which is like the 7th percentile. You can't really do much worse than that. If you did, you had to try. Probably fell asleep. So with that being said, no college took me. I tried to, and I actually didn't even know about community college at the time. And apparently my dad didn't either. So I ended up going to work for the local sanitation company. And I think like this is like where I felt like everything changed. And it was funny because on my first day, I found out someone gave me a warning before going to work that day. They were like, just so you know, you're the only one in the division that hasn't been formally incarcerated. All types of crimes. So they were just saying, if you feel a little nervous, just feel free to give me a call. And actually, I was quite offended because I was like, look, I just got done being a great fighter. So I'm like, what? So that was funny to me. But I just remember going in there. I was like, okay, well, at least I was excited because at a base level, I was able to help my dad by just going to go work for the sanitation company and kind of help bring, income to the household. And I was at least proud of that. And that, in my mind, was going to be the beginning of the end. I actually didn't really have a plan for anything else, just help with the finances in the house. But what I didn't see coming was one day, 2 guys that I was working with, came over to me and said, hey man, I don't mean to pry on your business, but what are you doing here? I don't know why I took this as if like they were trying to like check me or something, but I just kind of looked at him and just like walked past him because I thought he was they were trying to pick on me or something. But so they came back the next week. They just let me walk away, and then they came back the next week and they're like, hey buddy, like seriously, like, what are you doing here? And I asked him, what do you mean? I said, I'm just trying to make some money like you. And he said, yeah, but you're super smart. What are you doing here? And quite frankly, I had to pause in that moment. I was like, he just called me smart. And I remember like it was yesterday. I was like, what is he talking about? I've just been doing work. And as time went on, he eventually said, in that same conversation, he said, I really think you should go to school. And at this point, I truly thought he was just making fun of me. And I was like, I don't have to listen to you. You killed somebody. And so, I'm like, just leave me alone. I was just so anti anything school conversation. Like, this can't be serious. You have to be joking with me. But as time went on, he just stayed persistent. Him and his friend, persistent every day. Coming to talk to me like, hey, we really think you should consider something else. Until this day, I do not know what they were looking at. I don't know what their basis was for thinking that I had something to offer outside of just cleaning up dumpsters. But I eventually started to believe in the hype. And I said, all right, you kind of hear something long enough. All right, maybe they see something I don't. So the son of the owner of the company ended up taking me to a local HBCU in Maryland and said, I really want you to consider this guy on an appeal because the school already denied me. And mind you, this is only a couple months later. So, I got injured, graduated in May, and now we're only talking about like July. So school starts at like the end of August, so first week of September. And so by late July, the son of the owner of that company takes me up to the school and says, we really think you should give this guy an opportunity, at least take him on an appeal. So they made me retake the SAT. Still did pretty bad, but better than from before. Got in. And I'll never forget it, but on my first day at orientation, the son of the owner of the company hooked me up with a mentor there. And the mentor said to me, if you follow my path, your life will change forever. And I said, crap, man, I'm already here, so that sounds pretty good to me. Just tell me what to do, and I got you. Seriously, that's exactly what I said to him. So from there, before my first day of school, he got me a food scholarship, so I had access to food. He got me access to tutors for every subject that I would need. And then he had a list, he had like a group of like peers who all became my friends, who would let me sleep at their house like on a weekly basis. So now that I didn't have to kind of go home to like my specific circumstance, I was always able to have access to heat and electricity. And from there, I became a 4.0 student ever since. And I started becoming I became the president, of multiple organizations. And funny enough, right before I transferred to the University of Maryland, I actually went back to the sanitation company and got the guy who helped me go to school. I got his kid into school. So it was like a very like full circle moment. But I'll never forget the day. It was literally at the end of my sophomore year at Bowie State. I go in to talk to my mentor, and he tells me to sit down. And I think I'm in trouble, because he just said, sit down. He didn't say hi or anything. Sit down. He said, yeah, I need you to leave. And I honestly thought he was punishing me, right? I was like, what did I do wrong? I've been getting all A's, go to class, been given back. What more do you want from me? I genuinely thought I was being punished for something. I had no idea what he was talking about. He said, you didn't do anything wrong. I just need you to show me that you're smart. I said, what do you mean? I've been getting good grades. He said, yeah, but I gave you access to all these resources. Go somewhere else and do the same thing and get the same resources. And that's how you showed me that you have applied knowledge. I said, is that serious? Is it really that serious? But he was very adamant that I go somewhere else and do the exact same thing without his help. So I ended up transferring to the University of Maryland. I wanted to stay close to my father. And things were going great. Within the first 30 days of being at Maryland, I had just become the president of the History Undergraduate Association. I was a history major. Still getting all A's, although the University of Maryland had an A- system, so I started getting A-, and those sucked. Like, those really sucked. But generally, I always got like A's or A-, A+. And so first semester went great. Second semester is where things started to get a little hectic. My dad actually ended up picking up a third job to help me go to Maryland. But 1 month in, 2 months in, he ended up suffering a stroke. And so it was one of those like surreal moments where I was extremely lost. Because again, like my dad's like my best friend. Like literally, like there's like nothing I can't talk to my dad about, nothing we haven't ever been through together. And so for that, I was kind of like in this place of like, what do I do? I don't want to let the house go I don't want my house to be foreclosed. And I was like, do I give up the degree? I mean, I'd do anything for my dad. So if it came down to it, of course, I would have dropped the degree. And so I went and talked to him. And I said, Dad, I'm lost. Like, what do I do? Like, I just can't leave you here like this. And he just looked at me and just said, just keep doing your thing. He said, I'm going to be fine. And quite frankly, I actually didn't listen to him though. I walked out the door and I said, nah, that's just not how this is going to go down. So I was going to actually just drop the degree, probably just try to come back in a couple of years. But my mentor just said, look, if you're going to try to drop a degree, why don't you just try and go do both? He said, work full time and go to school full time. He said, you know how to make things happen. Make it happen. So I went back to the trash company. I said, can we make a deal? I said, I'll come work every morning from 5 to 9. I'll go to school from 10 to 3, and I'll come back and work from 4 to 7. They ended up letting me do that. So every morning, I'd wake up at 4 a.m., go to school, go to work, go to school, then go back to work. And things actually ended up working out. My teachers were supportive. The company was supportive. And literally, my classmates were supportive, although sometimes they didn't want to be around me because I didn't have time to shower sometimes. So, but generally speaking, everyone was super supportive. And like I ended up graduating from University of Maryland as speaker of the class. So my grades didn't drop one bit. Graduated towards the top of the class, speaker of the class, and I honestly thought this is it, right? I kind of thought I made it to the end of the road, and this is just how this is like the perfect storybook ending. And by the way, I want to emphasize my dad did recover from his stroke. I want to throw that out there. But after graduation, I was going to go start a job again, try to start a career, and then help my dad, some more and stay in the area and just start building from there. And it's just one of those things. By the way, guys, I love boxing. I think you guys probably all have heard this quote before, but it's always like the punches you don't see coming that hurt you the most. And so, like I'm telling you, so I have like this super big job lined up. The first time in my life I was gonna be making real money. And I'm like, there's like just nothing that can go wrong. I ended up going to a wedding, and it's 2019 now. So I graduated in December of 2018, and now it's like April of 2019, and I go to Indiana for a wedding in Portland, somewhere I've never been before, never been to the state, never been to the city. Don't know anything about this place, but my friend's getting married, so I'm just happy to go and be there. The night's going fine, it's very festive, everyone's cool, everyone's nice. Have a couple drinks and start coughing a lot. And to the point where I have to go to the bathroom because, coughing, veins are coming out of my head, just very, very odd sort of cough. Never coughed like this in my life. Went to the bathroom, coughed some more, and I realized like blood started like dripping out of my mouth onto my hand. And I'm like, what? What's going on? I'm like, I tried to figure, did I bite myself? Did I bite my tongue or something? Didn't really figure it out. And, I probably made one of the more stupidest decisions of my life, because most people cough up blood, go to the hospital. I was like, I fought for like the last 10 years. I coughed up blood before. It'll pass. It'll be all right. Yeah, that was probably one of the worst decisions of my life. Didn't go to the hospital. Ended up just going back to Maryland. And within like 2 months, I went from like 155 pounds to 114, and I just became bedridden. And ironically, I could barely go to the doctor because we were already drowning in medical debt. And it was just such an odd time because I remember when I was on the couch, and I say I was bedridden, I was actually couch ridden because I didn't even have a bed. So I was on the couch, and my dad goes back to work because of, he had the stroke. Now he's going back to work because of my situation. And it's just this weird thing. I did all of this stuff, accomplished all of these different things, got my degree, and like now we're just back in the very same situation that we were in back when all of this started. And except now I'm just out of commission. And so I was very fortunate because I had a cousin who started to visit me every single day. And by this time, everyone started calling me Steve Jobs. I wear a lot of black t-shirts. I got a black turtleneck on right now. Like, I'm always wearing blacks in some way, shape, or form. But I started, I got a reputation for like developing cool processes, like whether it was at school or my other jobs. Everyone pretty much at some point said, Rehan has a cool way of like solving problems. And so my cousin said, hey, bro, I don't mean to ask you this in an insensitive way, but can you do that Steve Jobs thing one more time? And I looked at him like he was crazy. I'm like, bro, I'm bedridden. Like, you need to go do Steve Jobs. I don't know, something. After 3 days, I kind of realized I'm just kind of sitting here anyway. Maybe I can think of something. So just to give you guys an idea, we were so broke that every time my dad had to buy me food at this point, it took away from the mortgage. So our home was definitely getting threatened with foreclosure. And so I pretty much said, if I can get to like a really great place of privilege, I can eat a couple of things. And here are just like, honestly, like just my transparent thoughts. People assumed I was gonna die. I assumed I was gonna die. And so I pretty much said, if I can get to a good place of privilege and die there, I know my dad will be taken care of with at least the resources that I would have garnered and the connections I would have made while I was there. I said, other case scenarios, I can get there and get access to some pretty great doctors, then maybe I can live And then third, best case scenario, I could help my dad and help myself. So I pretty much said, all right, how can I get to one of these places? I was too sick to be hired by anybody. Again, nobody would look at me twice. They were like, you can go lay down somewhere if they saw me. So I said, maybe I can try to go back to school. So I initially thought I should do an MBA program. And look, I had a hard time learning math when I was healthy. So y'all can imagine when I was sick, like, I closed that book very quickly. But what I found out was the LSAT didn't have math. I said, this is great. I said, this is great. There's no math on this test. And so literally, I just looked at it for a little bit, and like logical reasoning was a really good skill set of mine. I even took a course in college and got an A+ in it. So I was like, okay. So I just said, all right, great. LSAT, looked at it for a little bit, went, took the test, did really, really well, and then got into Harvard Law School. And because my idea was, if I could get into Harvard, Oxford, or Yale, I could make this all go away. Got into Harvard, and it all went away. Literally, I got in there. The first thing it did was get me doctors. I got resources for my dad. Tyler Perry actually ended up finding out about me and paid for me to go to school. And literally, my life changed. After getting accepted into Harvard, my life literally changed within less than 30 days. And the plan actually worked. So I still have to credit my cousin for that, because if he had never said the phrase, "Can you do that Steve Jobs thing one more time?" that probably would have been the end of the story. And I just remembered one of those weird moments that I had when I was on the couch. It was just one of those kind of moments you have sometimes when you're when your back's just up against the wall. Because the couch was ironically in front of my trophy wall with all my with all my trophies, from competition. And it's one of those times where I just looked at those things, throughout my time being sick. I felt in those moments, I was if this is going to be my last breath today, I just don't feel very fulfilled looking at those trophies. I don't know. It didn't bring me closure to living a fulfilling life. And so I just remembered, I was if anyone can hear me up there, if you give me a chance to get up off this couch, I'm going to make sure I live a more fulfilling life. Because I remember, although those trophies didn't give me fulfillment, I was I found a lot of peace when I went back and got some of the other sanitation guys, their kids in the college. Those were kind of moments that kind of gave me some peace with that I've done something with my life. And so ironically, when I got to Harvard, I just found a lot of time to do side projects. Because again, it's not it was my dream to be an attorney. I just went there for health insurance. So, I went to class and did my thing. And it was fun for what it was, and it was cool learning about the law and learning how to think like an attorney. But there was a very special day. I was walking down the hall and I said hi to a custodian. This is during my 2L year. This is 2022. And a custodian's walking in my direction. I said, "Hi, how are you doing?" And she said, "Are you talking to me?" I said, "Yes, how are you doing?" And then she says, "Me?" I kind of look, I'm like, "Yeah, you. What's up?" And she said, I'm sorry. Students don't talk to me. Students would rather look at the wall than talk to me." I said, "Damn, that's effed up." I said, "But if you don't mind, I'll talk to you." She said, "Of course." And there was something very I guess odd about watching her walk away after that experience. So I did, and since this is my 2L year, I did my first summer at Paul Weiss. It's a big law firm. And I actually ended up taking my savings from that summer job, and I bought every cook, custodian, and security guard a gift card to Amazon, and I hand wrote them all thank you cards. I didn't tell them it was for me, though. I just went about finding the right people to distribute it, and just kind of went on with my life. Just to kind of honor, just give them some honor, I suppose. They ended up finding out it was me. And about maybe a week after that, like you had a whole bunch of grown men and grown women just crying to me in the middle of the hallway saying, thank you so much. No one's ever done something like this, etc. And although I was grateful for the gratitude, I kind of looked and said, all right, this is a little odd. I mean, I did something pretty cool, I suppose, but I don't think the reaction kind of fits the gesture, I suppose. And so the very next day, I actually ended up deciding to go back to just went back to school, and I talked to about 70 different support staff, and I was kind of like, what is your union not doing? What is the school not doing? And where do you think like students fall short? And so after all of that information, I pretty much said, okay, I'm gonna create an organization that's like geared towards improving the quality of life of support staff in addition to just like honoring them. And then from there, I went back to the same sanitation company that I started working for about like 10 years ago, right? And I went to the son of the owner. I said, I have this idea. Tell me what you think. Gave him my whole proposal. And not only like did he say he would support it, he like offered to co-found it with me. And so then we ended up going in together because I knew nothing about business. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, I don't know anything about 501c3s, LLCs, nothing. So we came together, and then within the first like 5 months, we actually ended up raising like over $100,000 for the support staff. And we ended up launching our nonprofit in April of this year, 2023. And it was like we kicked off with a big banquet. And I just would never forget, a couple of people came, and told me, so the banquet had about 200 people. It was there to honor the support staff. There was like awards, like 30 people got awards. We had a couple sponsors, but I think one of the few things that kind of stood out, one person told me, yo, this is the first time I've seen students, high administration, support staff sit in the same room as equals. Because for the event, we went to the union and we basically asked for, we had to amend something just for this one instance, just so we can make sure that like the support staff didn't have to serve themselves and serve us at their own honoring event. So they said this is the first time that they've ever seen like student support staff and high administration just sit together as equals, especially just honoring support staff. So again, there was over 200 people there. And there was this one woman specifically who looked at me and said, I've never seen my son so proud of me. He said, he lit up when I walked across the stage, and when I walked to my seat, he jumped up out of his seat and held me so tight. And it was just one of those types of moments where I was just kind of like, why is this like not the norm? Because like somewhere, when I first had this idea, especially for the banquet and the award ceremony, to me, I kind of just thought it was unfair that at somewhere down the line, we honor high administration with big banquets, and at least at educational institutions, we will honor students, we'll honor professors. But somewhere down the line, once we start getting like blue collar support staff and just administrative staff, we give them like little receptions, maybe, if that. We give them pies, for the holiday, but we never give them those like big moments of like just celebrating their contributions to our community, organization, and things of that nature. Because the way I look at it is like, we all make this place, no matter what our community is, like we all play a part in making our community what it is. And especially the people at the bottom of the social hierarchy, is sometimes I put it, put in the most effort in terms of the value that they have to give, especially when it comes to physical labor. And so to be able to have those moments where the support staff say, this is the first time we've had something like this, and to me, this is just the beginning. And I honestly just kind of look back and think of my life, I suppose, after kind of, doing the nonprofit, where at the end of the day, everyone just wants to feel heard, everyone wants to feel seen. When I wasn't doing good in school, I didn't feel heard, I didn't feel seen. I did feel heard and seen when it came to sports, and I did really, really well at it when I was. And then when I felt heard and seen in academia, I started doing very great in that. I think when people are working a job, if they feel heard and seen, they'll show up. They'll show up for you. And so I just think, I really can't thank all of you guys enough for the work that you do, just for showing up for people. I think sometimes, like, the least we can do, we might not be able to solve everyone's problems, but we can show up, we can listen, we can acknowledge, we can give praise, because that literally costs nothing at all. And for me, like, being able to come to an event like this and speak to you guys after, like, hearing about all of the cool stories that you guys are involved in, all the lives that you've changed, all the people that you make feel seen and heard. Because I guess at the end of the day, I mean, at least for me, I speak for myself, like, being able to go to sleep at night and be able to say, like, I might have touched one person. To me, it just makes me feel like that's like it's a life well lived. So with that being said, just thank you guys for all the work that you do. When I heard you guys and things that you guys do, it made me think back on my own life, on how I got here. I'm definitely not self-made. At every point of the story, whether we're talking about the tutor who helped me not fail out of 7th grade, whether it's the sanitation workers who helped convince me to go to college, whether it's for the trash company who helped me figure out a game plan to stay in school, whether it's the mentor at Bowie State who taught me the skills on how to navigate higher education, whether it's my cousin who came to me and visited me every single day while I was sick on a couch and had faith in me when no one probably else would have. And whether it's the support staff at Harvard Law School who made me feel like a very valued part, of the community when I came to school every day. I was still battling health issues. I remember one just quick story. I remember I was having a hard time breathing. And one of the support staff members noticed, and he came and sat me down and went and bought me a whole breakfast and said, just let me know if you need anything. And there was another girl, and I remember her story where she hurt her leg, and she asked one of the support staff members that if she could just get her a water. And a couple of them went again and got her a whole meal and then helped bring her down the stairs. I don't know, I just think community is just the only thing that really just kind of just equates to progress in a weird way. I think it's like the basis of progress, at least when it comes to like human potential. And with that being said, I just can't thank you guys enough for all that you have done, and it's been an honor to speak with you guys. Thank you.
Oh, that's hard to follow. Thank you for that uplifting and inspiring story. I know that we're all better for having heard it. I'd now like all of the SMRLS Board of Directors, their volunteers, and members of the CLA stand while you're recognized for all of your hard work during this Thanksgiving season. So stand up, please. Well, that concludes our annual luncheon. Hope everyone has a safe and very happy Thanksgiving. Oh, yes. Yes, I did ask for the staff to stand as well. All right, have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.